In his 3,427 shows as host of The Tonight Show, Johnny Carson had never done anything like what Clint Eastwood did on October 12, 1973. He looked right at Clint's outstretched hand. With 30 million people watching live in the US, he said three words that made Ed McMahon drop his cigarette. "Not now." There was silence in Studio One at NBC Burbank, where 322 people were sitting. Clint Eastwood, who never moved when cameras were around, stood still with his hand in the air, and his famous squint got even tighter. It stopped in the middle of a note. Doc Severinsen even put down his trumpet and stared in shock. But what Johnny said next into his microphone was the first thing that made Clint Eastwood's famous tough guy mask crack in front of a national audience. What he told them would change everything they thought they knew about both guys in America. Since a telegram had been sent to Johnny's office 6 hours before. A message sent by a man who was dying in a Veterans Affairs hospital in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. A man named William Morrison, Sergeant. Johnny Carson and Clint Eastwood both knew this person, but they swore they would not talk about him in public for 21 years. A black and white picture was in the message. In 1952, three young guys in military clothes stood on a Korean hillside. Two of them would become the most recognizable names in American show business. One would think that everyone had forgotten about him as he lay in a hospital bed dying alone. One of two things Johnny was about to say would either ruin their public pictures for good, or it would show that some promises are kept secret until a dying man sets you free. No one would get to shake hands right away as planned. Because Johnny Carson owed this man more than just a hello. He owed him the truth about a night in Korea when a farm boy from Nebraska saved two scared young soldiers and made them swear to do something that would change their lives for the next 20 years. And it all began 24 hours before, when that yellow telegram with two words written in red ink at the top arrived. Important personal. Please help me if this story has already hooked you. Right now, click the like button and tell me where you are in the world so I can find you. I promise you that you will want to see how this goes. Let's go. October 11, 1973, at 2:17 p.m. Johnny Carson was in his office on the third floor of NBC Studios in Burbank, California, by himself. Behind him, there was an Emmy Award on a shelf. On a coat hook, there was a Karnak the Magnificent turban. In the ashtray on his desk, a half-smoked cigarette was burning. His secretary knocked twice and then walked in without asking. It was like this would never happen on Johnny's calendar unless something was wrong, and she knew it by heart. "Mr. Carson, this just came by courier," she told him quietly as she gave him a Western Union message. "It's marked urgent." Johnny looked at the Iowa postmark on the yellow paper and the red urgent stamp across the top. Before he even opened it, his hands began to shake. It hurt him like hell when he read the first line. "Hey Johnny, this is Dutch Morrison. I'm going to die. Lung cancer in stage 4. Cedar Rapids VA Hospital. Doctors say no more than 2 weeks, and maybe even less." Johnny lost his cigarette, which still had fire on it, and it fell on the desk. He missed it. He read more. "He's going to be on your show tomorrow, October 12th. There is something America needs to know about Korea before you shake his hand. About the promise we made and what really happened on Hill 418. I'm letting you both off the hook for your promise. Tell them the truth. They need to know we were here. Tell them the forgotten soldiers were important. Dutch." John quickly got up, and his chair rolled backwards and hit the wall. He was the host of The Tonight Show for 11 years. He worked on being the perfect Midwest guy for 11 years, making people laugh before bed by being cute, funny, and safe. It was never brought up. It was clear from NBC officials, "Keep it light, Johnny. America doesn't want heavy." But Dutch Morrison was dying, and Dutch was letting him off the hook for a 21-year quiet promise. Johnny went to his desk and opened the drawer at the bottom. He had kept this small metal box since 1954. He hadn't opened it in years, but he also hadn't thrown it away. As he lifted the lid, his hands were shaking. Not his Purple Heart medal. Sergeant William Morrison owned it. A picture that has faded. In Seoul, South Korea, three young men in battle fatigues put their arms around each other's shoulders and forced smiles for the camera. In December 1951, Johnny was 26 years old, Clint was 21 years old, and Dutch was 28 years old. Dutch had given Johnny a set of dog tags with the name Morrison William J. stamped on them in a military hospital in March 1952 with one command: "Please keep these until I ask you to give them back." Dutch never asked for them back. He just served more. It's been 23 years, with 3 tours in Korea and 2 in Vietnam. He quit his job in 1968 and went missing in an Iowan small town. He never got married, tried to get attention, or told his story. Johnny called the operator on the phone in his office. "Get me in touch with Clint Eastwood's agent in Los Angeles. It's Johnny Carson, and you need to talk to him right away." After 20 minutes, Johnny hung up the phone. Clint got the same message that let them off the hook for their promise, and he said the same thing that Johnny was thinking. "It's time. Dutch deserved this." Johnny changed the beginning of tomorrow's show, telling his producers that there would be a change in style that they wouldn't understand until it happened. For the first time since 1954, he put Dutch's Purple Heart in the pocket of his jacket. Johnny didn't know that Clint Eastwood was doing the same thing in Carmel, California, 347 miles to the south. And neither of them knew that Dutch Morrison's letter had one more secret in it. Something secret that wouldn't be told until the cameras were rolling live. Wednesday, October 12, 1973, 4:30 p.m., NBC Studios, Boise. All of The Tonight Show was recorded at 5:30 p.m. to air at 11:30 that same night. Johnny Carson got there early. He always did that, but today the door to his changing room stayed shut. Clint Eastwood showed up at 4:45 p.m. 90 minutes before his show was supposed to start. This was strange for a man who was known for being on time and nothing else. The stage manager saw it, the makeup artist saw it, and Ed McMahon saw it for sure. John's changing room door was opened by Ed. "John, are you okay in there? You've been stuck inside for an hour." The door opened and Johnny's voice came in. "Ed, I'm fine. Tonight, just trust me. Let's just go with the flow of what's going to happen." Ed made a face. "We've worked together for 11 years, and Johnny has never sounded this good. What's going on? When it happens, you'll know what to do." There was only Clint Eastwood in the green room. He was sitting alone in a leather chair and fidgeting with something. A stagehand walked by and took a quick look at what Clint was holding. A silver compass from the old military, the kind that troops in Korea carried. The stagehand had never seen Clint Eastwood look so worried. The actor's jaw was clenched, and his eyes kept darting to the monitor that showed the stage being empty. At 5:15 p.m., he walked by the green room. John. The door was wide open. Clint looked up. They looked at each other. Just a single nod, no words. A nod that said, "Tonight we break 21 years of silence." The show started exactly at 5:30 p.m. Johnny's. The speech was good. There are jokes about the World Series, Watergate, and gas costs. People in the crowd laughed, but Ed McMahon saw that Johnny kept looking at and touching something in his jacket pocket. Helen Reddy, a singer, was the first speaker. Delta Dawn was her song. Johnny didn't really listen. During the commercial break, he leaned over to talk to the director of the show. "No matter what, don't cut to an ad when Clint comes out. It's okay if we hit each other. You keep the cameras going." The producer was about to ask why, but Johnny's face stopped him. "Do it now." Ed got closer. "Johnny, you're making a mess. You don't sweat." Johnny looked at his best friend and co-host. "It's been too long, Ed. I'm sorry it took so long to tell you something about me that I have never told you before." At 6:02 p.m. Ed McMahon's voice could be heard all over the room. "Now, let's talk about the man with no name. He's the star of the Dirty Harry movies and one of the world's biggest movie stars. Thanks for having Clint Eastwood here." The crowd gave a huge cheer. The band led off with the theme from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. After coming out from behind the curtain, Clint walked with the slow, sure step that made him famous. But something wasn't right. His right hand was in the pocket of his jacket. And he put out his left hand for a handshake when he got to Johnny's desk. Then Johnny spoke into the mic. He stood up, looked at Clint's left hand, and looked into his eyes. So everyone in the United States could hear him. Not this time, Clint. People in the room gasped. The door to Ed McMahon's mouth opened. For the next 50 years, news shows would play over and over what happened next. There was silence for 3 seconds. 3 seconds seems like a very long time when you're watching live TV. Clint Eastwood's hand stayed out in front of him. People in the room were not sure whether to laugh or be quiet. This wasn't written in the plot. This wasn't how the Tonight Show interviews began. Johnny took a service medal out of the pocket of his jacket. He showed it to the camera. The light showed a purple heart, a gold star, the outline of George Washington, and a purple ribbon. The crowd became even more confused. The late Johnny Carson had a soft heart. Why did no one know this before? Johnny said, "This doesn't belong to me." His voice was steady and not as playful as normal. "This is Sergeant William Morrison's from the Korean War in the U.S. Army. Dutch Morrison is in a hospital bed at the Cedar Rapids VA in Iowa right now. He has stage 4 lung cancer. They tell him he has less than 2 weeks to live." People in the crowd could be heard taking deep breaths. The joke wasn't funny. It was real. Johnny looked at Clint straight on. "Didn't he also send you a picture message?" Clint gave a slow nod. He then took the silver compass out of his pocket with his right hand. "Yes, he did." Ed McMahon asked in a low voice, "Johnny, what is this?" Johnny turned to face the crowd, the camera, and the millions of people watching at home. "Let me tell you a story before I shake Clint Eastwood's hand tonight. A story about the bravest person I've ever met. Someone told Clint and me not to say his name in public. And we kept that promise for 21 years. But yesterday, Dutch Morrison broke our silence. He wants America to know that men like him lived because he is dying." Clint was told to sit down by Johnny. It wasn't like any other conversation after Clint moved to the guest chair. This was something completely different, and people in the room could feel it changing all the time. Johnny began hip-hop in South Korea on December 14, 1951. "I was 23 years old and in the Navy. I was stationed on the USS Pennsylvania. We were doing surveillance work off the coast of Korea when I was sent inland to act as a go-between." Clint was a private in the Army who was 21 years old and had been drafted in 1950. He worked in a transportation unit. Clint spoke for the first time since he got up. "Every day, I was scared to death." People in the room had never heard Clint Eastwood say he was scared. This was the man who played the toughest roles in movies and stared down criminals, telling everyone he was scared. Johnny went on, "We both ended up at a soul rest and recreation center for 48 hours. We were just two guys from small towns trying to forget about the war for 2 days when we met at a temporary USO bar. Then this huge man walked up to us." Johnny's voice changed when he said the next part. It became softer and maybe even sad. "Sergeant William Morrison is a country boy from Nebraska like me. He is 6 feet